Okay, it looks like we are live. Gotta love technology, right, Allison? But we're good to
Yeah,
go here.
absolutely.
Okay, excellent. All right, hey, welcome everybody. My name's Scott Fuller, founder of leavingthebayarea.com. Appreciate you joining us today. And we are continuing with our Market Insider series, where every week we go to a different location and learn a lot more about what's going on in some of the more popular areas that people are moving to. Today is no exception. Today we're going to Music City, USA with Allyson Woosley from Parks Real Estate. How are you today, Allison?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Okay. Allison, before I have you do your introduction, I just want to remind everybody we'd love to keep this interactive. We've got a couple features on here. We've got a Q&A. If you have any questions, feel free to press the button to raise your hand. Ask us a question as we're going through some of the content here. And there's also a chat feature. So I'd love to keep it interactive and answer any questions as we're going through here. But we've got some awesome information today. We're going to be talking about cost of living, housing, a lot of cool different things like that. So Allison, again, thanks for joining me today.
Yes, happy to be here.
And tell me, give me kind of a little bit of a background on, your background in Nashville and kind of what you do out there.
Yeah, I've been in real estate. I'm going into my 15th year of real estate. I have, since I've been in real estate, I have seen the market just change tremendously. I've been in a down market in Nashville, just like, back in 2008.
Sure.
Through 2011, 12, and then when Nashville came back in 12 and 13, oh my gosh, it has continued to boom, and we have not really seen a slowdown at this point.
Yeah. Well, and we're seeing a lot on this end. So we work a lot with people, obviously, who are moving out of the Bay Area, relocating to a lot of different areas. And Nashville has, I've seen it on the radar more recently than I have historically. Are you seeing, a lot more people come into the Nashville area, let's say just from out of state?
Oh, absolutely. We're seeing people from all over the country, from all over the world, actually. I think it's probably about 100 people a day that are moving to Nashville, and that number, give or take a few, but the growth just continues here.
Is that 100 people you're seeing personally, or just kind of what you're hearing from the general statistics?
Well, I mean, just general statistics, but I mean, living here in Nashville, I've been here for 32 years. And I mean, to see Nashville, when I first moved here, it was a city, of course, but to me, I came from Atlanta, Georgia. So it was more like a big town to me, a friendly, just, you just felt like you were in a smaller, it just,
yeah,
it was very different. And so I've seen it go from that to just, now it feels like a big city. I mean,
yeah.
we have traffic. I mean, everything is just like the feel of a big city, the growth here.
It's all grown up now, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about, so a lot of people are very interested to learn about, how much does it cost to live in Nashville? What do you buy, in a certain area, and what are you getting for that price? And I think you've got some information, and I think as we talked about, what might be helpful is if I share my screen here, pull up a map, and then maybe we can kind of look at the map and you can talk about a few of these areas that you've outlined. Does that sound good?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so this should look familiar to you. Are you able to see my screen here, Allison?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So kind of, tell us a little bit about some of the areas that you're seeing more people go to, some of the growing communities, some of the growing suburbs. I can try to just kind of point it out with my mouse here, and then you can give us a little more detail about, what you can get for, how much money and, the price points, things like that.
Perfect.
Okay, tell me where you want to start.
Okay, let's start with 12 South. Okay.
And 12 South, we're assuming is going to be south, so we're right down here. So if you follow my mouse clicker, here's, kind of, I'm assuming the downtown area, and as we go down south here, we've got this area 12 South.
Right. So 12 South, probably 10, 12 years ago, was absolutely not the hot spot. 12 South is now the hot spot. People love, I mean, we have a lot of tourism there. Just the average price of a home there is, with about 2,300 square feet, is going to be somewhere, you probably can't get a house less than about 700,000 there. And that's going to be like a 3 to 4 bedroom, 2.5 bath. You're going to be very close to, in 12 South, you've got all kinds of restaurants, parks, a lot of walkability there, coffee shops. People love this little area. It's just a very quaint little area that people love to go to.
So would it be safe to say that that's maybe one of the higher end suburbs that's a little bit more desirable?
Absolutely, it is.
Okay.
And if you're there all through the week, I mean, when you drive through 12 South, it's got like a little strip of shops. In fact, Reese Witherspoon has a store there, a little boutique there, and
Okay.
so there's a lot going on there. And then if you were to drive through there during the day, I mean, there's always tourists walking through because people love 12 South.
Yeah. And I would imagine, I mean, just with the entertainment that you guys have in Nashville, there's a lot of stars and entertainers, and that's probably a big part of the culture there.
Absolutely. People in Nashville don't react probably like you may think in other parts of the country. I mean, because we're in the country music, capital. I mean, you see a lot of country music artists, and not
Yeah.
just country music artists. You see a lot of other, celebrities as well. But they just kind of just walk along and go along. There's no paparazzi here in Nashville. We're
Yeah.
not to
So
that.
you're not starstruck because you're kind of used to seeing it. And I've heard that there's been a lot of, even people from Hollywood or sports, like you said, sports professionals have moved to Nashville.
They have. We have a lot of sport professionals here. We do.
Excellent. Okay, so we talked about that 12 South. You mentioned that's kind of maybe a little bit more of a higher end market. Give us another. Tell me where to go here on the map, and tell us a little bit more about something else.
Let's go to Sylvan Park.
Okay, and is that going to be north of Nashville?
Yes. Let's see. Let me find 12. Let's see.
Or maybe where it would be near?
Let's go over from your end. Let's go over towards. Let's see. Sylvan Park should be over in here.
Maybe east?
Right here. Can you see my mount? You can't. Can you see me?
I can't see yours, but give me kind of a guide on where the cities that we're seeing here.
Let's see. Okay, you see 12. Let's see. Go back to 12 South. I can't see the map as well anymore.
Sure, right here.
Okay, go back to 12 South. Okay, so go over to the left. It's going to be your right. Sorry, you're right. Go over to the right, and and then keep going to the right.
Okay.
Continue over. You see West End Park? Just continue over. Wedgwood, Houston. Let's go to Wedgwood, Houston. You see Wedgwood, Houston? No,
yeah,
back.
Wedgwood, Houston, right here. Okay, so we're just now south of Nashville.
Yes. Okay. So you see Wedgwood, Houston. Okay. Wedgwood, Houston is a place that is it's an up and coming. Well, it's already coming, but it has grown. It's in a huge transition, but the prices are starting to go up. There's a lot of growth there. Here again, this is another area that you did not see these type homes, and now you're seeing places. Average home would be about $5 to $585 in Wedgwood, Houston. That's a 2 to 3 bath. And it is in high growth, very high growth. There's a lot of growth still yet there to happen. And that's looking at about a 2,000 square foot home in the Wedgwood, Houston area. A lot of little restaurants and little things popping up all over the place. But again, there's still a lot of opportunity for growth. I think probably, of course, I don't know. I can't predict anything, but with the trends, I think you're going to still continue to see prices go up and a lot more growth in Wedgwood, Houston.
And are you seeing, when you say growth, are you seeing like a lot of new construction, like a lot of the new home communities?
Yes, a lot.
And then obviously retail and.
Because of the growth in Nashville, that they've had to come on out further. So Wedgwood, Houston is just kind of a whole new little area that developed in the past few years. That's just really coming up strong. Okay,
excellent. And I think we also talked about Germantown, which that's north, right up here. So now we're kind of north of Nashville.
Yeah. So Germantown is just it has become a pricey area to live in. Germantown, you're seeing prices $545 and above for an average, and that may just be sometimes that's not even a single family home. You see a lot of cottages, townhomes there, and that's like a 2 to 3 bedroom in the average price of about $545, and that's like a 2,000 square foot property. but lot of cool little restaurants there. We have a new, well, in 2015, we have a minor league baseball team here, the Nashville Sounds. So Germantown is just right above, just right over by the stadium for the baseball. And a lot of cool little restaurants, coffee shops, just a lot of neat little boutiques. But again, it is soaring up in price as well.
So, and obviously price is relative, right? Because we think about price here in the Bay Area, you know, and kind of the houses that you're describing, maybe 3 or 4 bedroom, 2,000 square feet is going to be $1 million up.
Sure.
So, you know, we've talked about maybe a few options from 500,000 up to over 700,000. Tell us about kind of what's going on in downtown Nashville, you know, that's more of the urban area, because I would imagine that they've got, you know, maybe some high-rise condos, you know, some of that, the live-work model there. What would you find, and what would those price points look like for downtown Nashville?
So the area, you see Nashville there, okay,
Mm-hmm.
come down, you see the Gulch area just down below there.
Yep.
Right there. Okay, so the Gulch, that's an area where there's a lot of high-rise condos, and that runs just off of Broadway. Broadway, you know, goes from downtown Nashville all the way on the other midtown and on further. So with the Gulch, you've got a lot of condo living. There's let's just say a 1-bedroom in this little community called the Gulch. You're looking at a 1-bedroom that's about 600 to 700 square feet. You're probably going to pay, you know, probably under 300. Well, no, I'm sorry, under 400,000. You might possibly get one there, a 1-bedroom, 600 to 700 square feet.
Which still seems, I mean, that's a smaller unit, and obviously for a lot of people who don't want to have a lot of maintenance, that could be a good option, but it still seems pretty reasonably priced, I would think.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, compared to your part of the country, absolutely.
Yeah.
But we've seen these prices just go up. I mean, and then you've got some other, I mean, you'll have condos in some of these buildings that'll go up to $1 million.
Sure.
But I mean, you know, that may be for 1,800, 2,000 square feet. I mean, there's not a lot of $1 million condos in the Gulch, but there's still some there, you know, upwards of 700,000 or 800,000 for a 2-bedroom.
Are you seeing people, the locals there, are they kind of in sticker shock, you know, because of the prices having gone up over a period of, you know, 10, 15 years?
Yes, they're sticker shock, but they're loving it because, of course, obviously their homes have appreciated so much in the last since 2012, 13.
Excellent.
But that being said, they have soared up, and certain communities have gone up, as you know, like anywhere will go up more than others. But we're also seeing that some of the sellers, even though it's still a seller's market, some of the sellers are still thinking that they can price their homes up here where they're having to level out a little bit in certain areas where they've just gone skyrocketed. So
you still have to be reasonable, right? You know, you have to be reasonable based off of your competition and, you know, what's likely to yield from a buyer.
Because you're seeing some price cuts. I mean, it'll be obvious if you're looking on Zillow or something, you'll see some price cuts. I have a property that I just did a price cut on yesterday, but it's an older home. It's in a really cool area.
Yeah.
In a big area, but we're still having to, you know, we've got some competition, you know, with the newer and the older builds.
Sure. And I'd imagine you're also in some areas you're competing still with the builders, right? You know, if you're a seller, and builders tend to, you know, have a little bit more leverage to be able to slash their prices and compete when they need to, you know, so it's good to have that healthy, you know, checks and balances.
Yes.
So what's the average days on market right now?
You know, the average days on market are about 32 days.
Okay.
You know, and again, anywhere, that depends upon the area. You know, I mean, some things are faster than others. Now, I'll tell you, if you're looking at a home that is priced under 400,000 and it's a great home, it's not going to last. So it'll probably first day on the market. But again, you may have some homes like that. If they're not in mint condition, you know, they may last longer.
And then a home that's going to be maybe in the higher price points, obviously it might sit a little bit longer, so you have maybe a little bit more flexibility and leverage on that.
It all has to do with prices. Yes.
Yeah, it really does. Okay. And so let's say if I'm going to sell a property here in the Bay Area and I need to make a purchase, let's say $500,000, $600,000 price range is what I'm looking for to buy in Nashville. But I have to write it contingent on my home selling here. And granted, you know, homes sell pretty quickly here, you know, reasonably. would I have an opportunity to be able to write a contingent offer and get that accepted by a seller there?
It's possible. It really just depends on how long the property's been on the market. If the property's been on
Okay.
the market, 30 days, that's all about what the seller would agree to do. I have a client right now, just as an example, there's a property that they love. It's been on the market 30 days, and it's priced at the top of at the top.
Okay.
And they have a home to sell. So now, because that property is now into 30 days, I think there's probably a possibility, because I have spoken with the agent and she said they would maybe consider a contingency. So it just depends on how long, the property's been on the market.
Yeah. And you're right. And everything's kind of situational, right? So it depends on a lot of different factors, but it sounds like there is an opportunity. And it sounds like for a lot of people who are looking to potentially move out of California and go to your area, I mean, obviously, I know you're very well experienced with that, working with people and, putting together deals that can, create a great outcome. I've got a question here from Margarita. She asked, what are areas near 12 South that have highest potential for price growth? And do you get a better deal by buying a home that needs cosmetic changes, like needing a kitchen, baths, and paint?
Mm-hmm. I do think you would get a better deal by purchasing a home that needs some work in it, some renovation. Absolutely, you would. But even that being said, a lot of times if they're in those hot spots, those sellers are still, there's still not as much room to move on those,
Right.
to negotiate. But I do think that you've got more of an advantage if the property needs some work. I do.
Excellent. Okay. And then as far as, and again, we don't like to put out the crystal ball, because who knows what's going to happen in the overall economy and, the real estate market. But are there any areas that you see more potential than others for price growth?
I think the Wedgwood, Houston area has that.
Okay.
I believe there's some other areas that are north of Nashville, Buena Vista. Those areas are lower in price point, and they're making a huge transition, but you're going to be out a little bit further. And it's just a little bit different. It is a different feel. East Nashville is another area that has just been booming, but you can be in that area and probably get more, if you will, bang for your buck. And I think there's still a lot of potential in East Nashville. I think even still 12 South, Germantown, I think there's a lot of little pocket areas. There's still a lot of potential growth there.
Yeah.
It really just depends.
Yeah. And obviously, kind of as you get a little bit farther out from the epicenter is where you're going to see more of the growth and more of the potential future,
Right.
opportunities. And we see that here. It's kind of drive east till you qualify, or drive east until you can get something that's going to work within budget. Dean asked a great question, which leads us into our next segment, which is, some of the retirement communities. A lot of the people that are leaving the Bay Area have built up some equity in their home. They built up a nest egg, and they're saying, you know what, we want to just go somewhere where it's not as crowded, maybe retire, maybe they have family there, friends there in the area. Can you talk to us about, maybe a couple of different active adult / retirement communities that are popular there, and also maybe what those price ranges look like?
Sure. There is an area. It's not in Nashville. It's in the next county over, and that would be Mount Juliet, and that would be Wilson County, and it's very close to some of the lakes. And if you love lakes, I mean, it's closer there. And it's about, from downtown Nashville, Mount Juliet, this particular community. This one's called Lake Providence. It's probably, just with normal traffic, probably about 30 minutes from downtown Nashville. And you're going to have, workout facilities, walking trails, a lot of shopping very near, very easy access to Nashville. And some of those price points, you're looking probably 275 upwards of 500,000. Again, just depending upon your square footage and how large of a home you're looking for. And that one, I mean, they have an indoor spa at that particular property. And again, that is going to be east of Nashville, Mount Juliet area.
Okay, so looking at my map right here, so we're going east from Nashville. Is this going to be out kind of in this area here, or is that kind of farther out than what you're talking about?
It's going to be a little further out.
Okay.
So you see, you just kind of pass Nashville Shores Lakeside Resort. You just kind of hear that's going towards like your Mount Juliet area.
Okay.
Hermitage, all up in there. You get out just a little bit further.
And about how long does that take then for some of these areas that you're talking about to get to? And again, I might have to drill down in. I don't want to spend too much time on finding the exact location, but how far is that from a commuting standpoint to get to, you know, let's say downtown area?
Not far. It's really mileage wise, you're probably looking at 20 to 25 miles, and maybe not even. In Mount Juliet is a pretty big area.
Here we go, right here on the map.
Right there. So now traffic wise, I mean, you're going to look at, 30, 45 minutes, but if you're just, everything's running smooth, I mean, you can be downtown fairly quickly, 20 minutes. It's really far out.
And it sounds like a lot of those retirement communities, I mean, they're great because you have all of these amenities, but you also have kind of a mix and match of real estate, right? So you're going to have condos, like you said, that might be down to 200, 250, up to single families that could be at $500,000 or more. But, there's a lot of, but a good mix of that out there. Is that right?
Yes. And Mount Juliet, the area where this particular property that I'm telling about, that area has grown unbelievably. The prices have soared up in that area. I mean, single family homes, condos, whatever you will. And so that is a highly sought after area. I have a client coming in town actually tomorrow, and he's very interested in Mount Juliet.
Excellent.
Because it's still affordable because it's out a little bit, but it is a highly sought after area.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's jump in. We've talked a little bit about the real estate side of it. Let's jump into, and Dean has a question about state income taxes, which, Dean, we will talk about that shortly, but I want to talk a little bit about, getting into keeping the same topic as the retirement. A lot of people are, if we're 55 plus or maybe older, we're thinking of the future. Healthcare certainly is a big, topic of discussion. So tell us a little bit more about, some of the major healthcare providers there, service providers, proximity to make people feel good about if you're going out there, you're going to have some great healthcare services.
Okay, so Nashville we are known for our healthcare here in Nashville. So we have a lot of major hospitals. Hospitals Corporations of America is in Nashville. There are, I don't even know how many thousand employees work for Hospital Corporations of America. I mean, they're all over. And so we have Centennial Hospital, which that's the Hospitals Corporations of America. We have that is down, I mean, it's kind of midtown is where that hospital is located from downtown Nashville. Okay. And then we Vanderbilt University, which is obviously very well known. I mean, Children's Hospital, sure. Just all across the board. And then we have Midtown St. Thomas Hospital. All these hospitals that I just named are within about a mile radius of one another, or 2 mile radius of one another. So those are all in the Midtown area. Now, if you want to get out in the suburbs, or if you're just living like within Davidson County, all these hospitals are going to be very accessible, but then you can get out a little bit further and you'll be like, if you're in Williamson County, which is going to be about 20 miles out, they've got Williamson Medical Center. Sumner County is another one that's about 30 minutes out. They've got hospitals in Sumner County. You're really going to have access to hospitals unbelievably in Nashville or any outskirt part of Nashville.
Got it.
We are known for our healthcare here.
And here's one thing that I read just this morning. This might be, breaking news, so to speak. Quantum Health, which is out of Columbus, Ohio, is looking to relocate their corporate headquarters, and Nashville is one of 3 cities they're considering going to, which could bring in about 1,150 jobs. So that talks about, again, the presence that you have with the healthcare industry, but also the expansion of, the job market and the growth that's happening in that sector, right?
Right. Yeah.
Excellent.
I don't know the specifics on that, but that doesn't surprise me because of the industry here.
I think this just came out in the Nashville Business Journal about 3 hours ago. So wow. I think it's very new, but again, they may not be talking about it a lot just yet because, Nashville is one of the cities that they're considering considering.
I'll be on the news. I'm sure I'll see it on the local news.
Probably will. So real quick, let's move into kind of what's going on with the industries there. Obviously, there's a very diverse industry base. A lot of companies. There's very, very high job growth. I mean, one of the highest job growth areas in the country right now.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what you're seeing, who some of those major employers are, and some of the industry diversification.
Well, again, I mentioned Hospital Corporations of America. That's a huge industry here. Not just the hospitals, but all the corporate people, because we have a corporate headquarters of Hospital Corporations of America in Nashville. So to put the hospitals aside, all the other people that are employed by hospitals, corporations.
Sure.
You have Vanderbilt University, that you have many. I don't know how many are employed there, but that's a huge market of jobs with Vanderbilt University. And then Amazon is going to be they're going to be coming here over the next 7 years. It is my understanding they're going to bring, oh goodness, that I think the average job is going to be about 150,000, for the salary, 150,000.
Yeah.
So
and that was something like, because that might have come from maybe some of that New York fallout, but that was like possibly 50,000 jobs. I mean, significant.
I think here it's going to be, I think it is 50,000. No, I'm sorry. For some reason, I think it's less than that. I don't think it's 50, maybe 5,000. I think it's 5,
maybe 5,000. Okay.
I think 5,000. Yeah.
Got it. But those are obviously very high-paying jobs, and then once you get a lot of those high-paying jobs in, it supports the growth for the service-level jobs, that support those, right? So I mean, it's great.
Right. And I think that's going to happen over the next 7 years, is my understanding.
Okay.
And then we've got other companies here as well that are looking to move here. It's just, and of course, Nissan is here. So there's a lot of Nissan employees here. That brings a lot of jobs. We have the music industry, healthcare. So their jobs are very diversified, but very abundant here. We have a very low unemployment here.
And certainly having the label Music City, USA, the music industry isn't going anywhere, right? And it's going to continue to, and especially I think a lot of, you have kind of the old school country music, but then you have, more of the newer version of country music, which is more mainstream in a lot of senses. And so you probably have more artists, and it's becoming more well-known for not just what you consider the classic country, right? It's more mainstream music as well as coming into Nashville.
It is. We've got, there are so many, there's so many country music artists that live here. I could name off the top of my head.
Yeah. So let's talk about, going back to Dean's question, let's talk about taxes. That's the thing that everybody, when you live in California, you don't like to talk about it that much, but we're going to talk about it because you might have a little bit better benefit than we do. So tell us a little bit about, now there's no state income tax.
There is no state income tax here in Tennessee. So that's a wonderful benefit. And our property taxes, they're going to be different, obviously, in urban areas versus, maybe a more expensive area. They're going to vary somewhat, but still what I hear people that are coming to Nashville, oh my goodness, this is wonderful. Your property taxes are so much less than ours. It drives people here because of that, because of no income tax. I have just very ironic, I have a family that lives in LA, and they are looking to relocate. They're coming in the next couple of weeks. They've already made one visit here, and he's probably going to move his business here because his taxes, no income tax. So it's going to make a big difference. And to his property taxes, I think he said he pays upwards of $30,000 or $25,000 to $30,000. Probably lives in about a $2 million home. And here, and I'm just giving random, of course, obviously, if you have a $2 million home here,
you're going to pay higher taxes. Yeah.
But, I know people that live in those type homes, and they're paying probably around $13,000 to $18,000, $20,000 in property taxes, where you guys will just have probably paying $10,000 or $12,000 more a year in property taxes.
Do you know what, I know that it kind of varies per county and per area, but do you know kind of what a base percentage would be of assessed value or purchase value?
I do. So if you, like a Metro Nashville urban would be 3.155 per $100.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that's Metro Nashville, and then urban would be like 2.755 just for a general district. So again, let's just say in I'll call it the Beverly Hills of Nashville, what we would call it would be like Belmead. The property values are so much more expensive there. They're always going to be higher in that area. That's just one example. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So we've talked, you mentioned no state income tax. Ours, by the way, if people probably don't need a reminder, but just for comparison purposes, base is about 7.25%, goes up to about 12.3%. And granted, we are in California, the highest in the nation in state income tax. Our property taxes are going to run 1.25% and higher, just if there's special assessments, things what we call like Mello-Roos and different assessments like that. So it's about 1.25%. We might be a little bit lower on that than you guys. But again, everything's going to kind of offset in the end when you're looking at your financial picture, if you're taking a lot of these different elements into place. What is your what's your state sales tax? You know what that is offhand? 9.25. Okay, so we're just under that. We're it's obviously every county's going to be a little different, but maybe a little bit less than that here. And what are you paying for a gallon of gas? Say premium gas.
Again, that'll vary what part of Nashville you're in. I will say I just got some gas earlier today, and I think it was like where I was, it was a little bit more expensive because you can find it less than this. I think it was like 3.25 for, 89 octane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
But you will find in various places certainly under $3 a gallon.
Yeah. I think that we're seeing right now, and again, this is the time of recording this, we're anywhere between $4.29 and maybe $4.50 a gallon.
Yes,
so there's a significant difference, especially if you're commuting. There's a question from Ann, and I want to preface this by saying you and I, Allyson, are not tax professionals, so I always suggest that people talk to their financial planner, tax preparer, wealth manager, CPA before they make any final decisions on, what that's going to look like. But her question is there tax on investment income? I don't know if you know that answer offhand or not.
I want to say probably, but again, I'm not a CPA, so I don't.
Yeah, I think, Ann, we're going to say we probably should just plead the fifth and not try to give you an incorrect answer, because I don't want you to, to take that as the final word on it. So let's kind of get into, we've talked a lot about, Allyson, about the growth that's happening in the Nashville area. And obviously you're going to have a certain element of sprawl, when you start to increase growth and things like that. What is the city and the county doing to, to help with the fundamentals of transportation as far as mass transit, increasing, maybe the roads, adding on things like that? What's taking place to help with that?
Well, just like any big city, we are constantly, our interstates, there's constantly widening the roads or, doing something. I mean, right now, one of our major, it's called 440, and it goes all the way around Nashville. So right now, that being said, that you asked that, they're widening that right now. So there's always construction going on with that. And
Sure.
We do have a transit system, Metro Transit Authorities. And that runs all over Metro Nashville. It's a bus system. We do not have a subway or anything like that. There's been a lot of things in the works, but we just had something voted down just recently. And I think the reason that it probably was is because I think people felt like that it was really, we need it more on the outskirts of town because the people on inside Nashville do not need it as much as because they've got the bus system. So I think that was needed more for that. And they were talking about an underground, and that would take 10 years to do. So right now I think we need to work on that, but I don't think we really have a great plan in place right now for that.
And I think that there's always the growing pains, right? It's you have to think long term, and it has to be a sustained project. But certainly you know, in the day and age of Uber and Lyft, I guess that makes it a lot more convenient for people. But like you said, when you're coming from the outskirts into town, you know, they really have to start addressing that for not just Nashville, but a lot of cities who don't have that infrastructure set up yet.
Oh yeah. Nashville grew faster than I think they realized they were going to grow. So they were prepared.
That's right. So let's talk about kind of the weather, because and the climate there. I think everybody assumes, you know, that Nashville's in the south. It's hot. It's humid. Is it? Tell us more about that.
I'm going to tell you, we've had a really odd week. I guess we've got a little front coming through. And in fact, I'm trying to look on my phone right now. I would say right now, the temperature here in Nashville is 75 degrees. This is not typical for June, but it's 75 degrees here today. And actually, I don't like it this cool because I love warm weather. I mean, everybody loves it because they know that this is not typical. So your average temperature here in the summertime, I mean, you're going to be 85 to 89 degrees, and it is humid here in the summer. But, you know, you can have days just like today. It's just very, very nice. You know, I'm trying to see, like, for springtime, I will tell you that you're looking, you know, 69 to 70 degrees in springtime, being March to probably May, or March to probably end of April, I should say. You're going to be looking at those temperatures. You know, you'll have some rainy. Actually, we've had a lot of rain. If anybody's been watching the national forecast, the national weather, which many people do, Nashville had a lot of rain in this past winter. I mean, we had an unusually wet season, and that's not typical. So it's been kind of an odd year, but overall, we have all the seasons, you know, spring, summer, winter, and fall. You know, in the fall, we have the beautiful leaf changes, all of that. But you're looking at from summertime to probably October, you're still going to have really nice warm weather. November, you can even have nice weather here.
So coming from a guy who hasn't spent a lot of time in the South, but you kind of hear about it, is the humidity comparable to Georgia and Florida, or maybe not quite that?
Probably not quite as much as Florida, but it's still very humid here. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you're going to feel it a little bit. Question.
But July, August, yes, and even into September. September, it will begin to cool about the third week typically, but it just seems like, I don't think across the country, I think everybody's weather's been a little bit different, but typically, you know, about the third week of September, you'll see it change here.
Dean had a question. Tornadoes. You guys have tornadoes there?
We have tornadoes. I've lived here 32 years, and I will tell you, I have seen a couple of tornadoes. We had a tornado here. Gosh, I think it was 2006. We had a tornado here, and there was some damage, but it's not like you see.
Not common.
No, I mean, you
wouldn't expect it.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I live in a home that has a basement. I mean, and I don't run to my basement very often. I'll just say that for sure.
Okay, so the sirens aren't going off, and you kind of have this expectation of the fear of when's it going to happen this year. It's not really that. Is there snow there?
There is snow, but more ice, I should say. So in the wintertime, you get very, very little snow. Of course, every winter is going to vary. We may have had maybe 1 or 2 days where the children did not go to school, and that was more because of ice. I have seen it through the years where you might get 3 or 4 inches of snow, and everything closes down because we do have ice, and you can't afford to drive here because we have snow trucks, but we don't have the means like other parts of the country who get a lot of snow. So no, snow's not going to put you out here by any means. No.
So the kids are kind of bummed because they're not getting their snow days off of school. But if you wanted to, I mean, if you were a skier or a snowboarder, if you wanted to get to some snow, how far away would that be in the wintertime?
You would have to go about 3 or 4 hours. Of course, you could probably go a little bit less than that and get some fake snow, maybe if you needed to. But 3 or 4 hours, you could probably get a little snow.
Okay. So you can put in a weekend trip if that's what you were looking for. you know, and that's okay. And for most parts of the Bay Area, when you factor in traffic,
Mhm.
well, you're 3 or 4 hours from Lake Tahoe, so it's really about the same, you know. So we're used to factoring in traffic into about everything, Allison.
Yes.
So yeah. I've got a question. Ann asked, can you speak a little bit about the Franklin/Thompson Station area?
Yes. Franklin Thompson Station. Oh, wow. Those areas are booming. Even in the market, the down market, in that's Williamson County. Williamson County
Okay.
is ranked the highest public schools in the state. And even in a down market, back when we were in our down market, Williamson County was still booming. Now, the Thompson Station area, that is a community that is just growing like crazy, because it's still Williamson County, but it's a little less expensive than the Franklin. I mean, it's not as expensive as the Franklin area. I don't have my numbers in front of me, but people that want to be in Williamson County, if they don't want to spend as much, they can be in Thompson Station. That's Nolensville is also part of Williamson County. So you can be in those areas and still get those wonderful schools, public schools, but you're not paying as much as if you're in Franklin, because Franklin prices are definitely going to be more expensive. Franklin, Thompson Station, Spring Hill is on out a little bit further, and I think it'll divide up in 2 different counties, so it'll be a little bit different. But part of it's Williamson County. I'm almost positive in Spring Hill, so it's more affordable. But Thompson Station, College Grove, all those areas, Franklin, highly sought after. But Nolan is booming. It is booming and growing like I've never seen before.
Well, and it's really, I mean, that's what's important of having somebody like you and your team to be able to decipher. It's so dynamic, right, and fluid, that you want to, you know, what's going on, you know, this quarter of the year. It might be a little bit different than 3 months ago. Okay, so we've got a few minutes, or just a couple minutes left here. Let's get into some fun stuff. Recreation and attractions. What are people doing for fun? And, you know, give us kind of an idea of what's exciting out there.
In Nashville, you have so many things to do. You know, we have lakes nearby, so many parks. I mean, hiking. We have Cheekwood, that's a botanical garden. We have all the Broadway, all the country music, honky tonks, bars, all the music. You don't want, if you love to be in crowds, you need to go there. But if you don't, you want to stay away from there.
Yeah.
Here we have this is not, of course, on a daily basis. We have the country music marathon here. So a lot of running, a lot of great places to run and hike. Percy Warner Park is a park where a lot of hiking goes on. We have steeplechase here. That's in May. It's kind of a smaller version of the Kentucky Derby.
Okay.
Let's see, what are some of the other things? We have, of course, Opryland. Opryland has a massive, beautiful hotel with a water park. We used to have an amusement park there, but they no longer have that. But they have a huge shopping there called Opryland Mall. And then we have, let's see, what are some other things? We have, the Belmead Mansion. That's another place, a big attraction. Radnor Lake, you can hike there. Lakes. There is Old Hickory Lake here. A lot of boating, a lot of skiing. So that's a huge, huge attraction to Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
You can be on the outskirts of Nashville and be at a lake if you like that.
So it sounds like a lot of outdoors activities, and maybe within, you know, an hour or so, or a couple hours, you can find plenty of stuff to keep you busy. Any season, right? Any season of the year. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Okay, so I think we're running right around 12:45 right now, which is the time that we said we would wrap up. So Allison, you mentioned that you've got, you know, some people that are coming in from California who you're spending a little bit of time with. I think this is a great introduction for people who are either watching this live right now or going to be seeing the recorded version, which we'll have on the website in a few days. But this is kind of the primer for Nashville. But if somebody wanted to, you know, contact you and maybe go out and spend an afternoon, or a day with, you and your team? Is that something that you guys are open to kind of really get that hands-on, firsthand experience?
Yes, we have
Excellent.
5
Okay.
people on our team. We can always, we've got people coming in all weekend, this weekend to see, from New Jersey.
You guys are busy. Got to keep you busy. I keep you working. Okay. All right. Fantastic. Well, I want to thank everybody again for, taking the time with us today. Allyson, this has been fantastic information. Thanks so much. I appreciate you joining me today.
Thank you.
And if anybody needs any information, we can be reached at info@leavingthebayarea.com. And Allyson will be in touch. And thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.